Hello, my Belfast Thousand Nation. How's everyone doing today? Hopefully, everyone's having a great day. If not, hope it gets better from here. We are back with another Coffeehouse Crime. This one is titled The Actor That Became a Killer Then Tried to Murder the Prime Minister. The title got me. I'm not even going to lie. Like, nothing else got me, just the title itself. I read it and I was like, what the fuck? No. Okay, we gotta watch it. So, I'm ready for today's story. I don't know about you, but let's go ahead and get into it. Go ahead, turn them lights down low, put on something comfy, couple something special. Let's get our minds fucking blown.
Time in the spotlight can generate a vast amount of pressure. Couple this with problems at home, and it's a recipe for disaster. But when well-known actor Ryan Grantham broke down from a family health diagnosis, he would quite literally go off the deep end. Unknown to the public or even his family, Ryan slipped into a world filled with the horrors of the dark web, substance abuse, and even nefarious planning. And one of those plans was to murder Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
Why? I'm not gonna lie, I don't know who either one of these people are. I don't know a lot of things. No, I don't know a lot of prime ministers. I've never been big into politics, I guess. It gives me a headache thinking about it. It really does. Like, it's all a lot. But I don't know who the actor person is either. I don't know.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, folks. My name is Adrian, and welcome back
How we
to
doing, bud?
Coffeehouse Crime. Today, we're
Doing
looking at
good.
the case of Ryan Grantham. Famous
Yeah.
actor, murder, and even presidential assassination. You know, I feel like this case really slipped under the radar with thanks to COVID. Anyway, before we begin, and just to let you know that I post true crime and strange cases here weekly, so if that does sound like your kind of thing, please consider subscribing to the channel. And now, with that said, please grab yourself a coffee, pull up a seat, and get ready for the deep dive. This is the case of Ryan Grantham.
I don't know who it is. That's
Welcome to the
beautiful.
beautifully rugged
Holy shit, that's beautiful.
province of British Columbia. Being the westernmost part of Canada, the so-called left coast meets the US at its
Excuse me.
northern border, with the city of Vancouver just a stone's throw away from my birthplace, Seattle. Despite its heavy rainfall and precipitous landscape, there is a lot to be admired here, and there is no end to its natural beauty either, ranging from snow-capped mountains to alpine dense islands, with rivers and lakes abundant throughout. If you continue to weave through the mountains, rivers and national parks north of Vancouver, you will eventually stumble across a small town named Squamish. Located around 25 miles north of the city, and despite its rather quirky name, this town has impressively been around for thousands of years. First inhabited by the Squamish, the indigenous people of the region, their culture and history should run deep here and be found in abundance. However,
What does that name mean, Squamish? Like, I know it's the people, but like their names will stand for certain things, like whatever. What does it mean? What does it mean?
sadly, only 10 fluent native speakers exist today. Focusing on its more
Oh,
modern-day spectacles, there isn't really much to tell you here. With a population of under 20,000 residents, it's a small and sleepy town that barely sees anything worthy of a spot on the news. Despite this, Squamish
it's fucking gorgeous though. It would be a delight to live in a place like that.
seems to be a diamond in the rough. If nature and wilderness is your thing to
Whoa.
observe and explore, there is so much to see and do here. From hiking and mountaineering to windsurfing and kayaking, you will never find yourself bored of the outdoors. It was this reason that Barbara White, a 64-year-old woman, lived and loved it here. Although many would argue she was in her golden years, Barbara was youthful and healthy, likely due to her close connection with nature and physical fitness. A list of her hobbies include regular hikes, skiing, biking, rock climbing, and one of my personal favorites, kayaking. Now, I don't know about you here, but Barbara's lifestyle is one that many should be envious of. And personally speaking, I hope in my golden years I'm that in tune with nature. You know, I
Right.
can't really say that I cared much about the outdoors when I was younger, but as I
I did. I loved being outdoors whenever I was young. Why is my mouse still there? I am so sorry, people. I loved being outside whenever I was young. I wasn't a big sitting in the house playing video games person until I want to say high school. All before that though, I was constantly outside. High school, I was just really busy, and then whenever I wasn't doing something, I just wanted to sit down and chill. It's like, oh god. But all in all, I loved it whenever I was younger. I had to, the same rule that probably most kids did. When the street light comes on, you best be heading home. Like you had like 4 or 5 minutes from time that the street light hit on to be in the house. But other than that, come in from school, get something to eat. Well, usually like a half a bologna sandwich and a little bag of chips or something. Just something to snack on. Put on my play shoes, go outside. Come in for supper, take a shower, go to bed.
Go through my
Do homework on the school bus on the way.
years, I find myself more and more compelled to live a down-to-earth lifestyle. I mean, the pandemic definitely changed a few priorities for all of us, right? Anyway, Barbara was a loving daughter, a caring sister, and a nurturing mother of two. And as for her children, Lisa and Ryan, they both loved their mother immensely. Now, Barbara was particularly close to her daughter, but this wasn't to say that she played favourites in the slightest. Lisa's brother, Ryan, was born in 1998, and although not much is known about his earlier years, you may already recognise his face. From a very young age, Barbara realised that Ryan had a passion for acting. With herself being such a go-getter already, she wanted nothing more than to support her son in building his potential career. And so, from the young age of 8, Ryan began to appear on television, often being cast for his cute and innocent appearance. This included stints on TV commercials, TV shows, short films, and minor roles in cinema. Many of his roles were small to begin with, and he rarely made any appearance on more than a single episode for the series he would be cast in. However, this mildly successful acting career would carry the young Ryan throughout his childhood and into his teen years. And in 2010, at the age of 12, he landed one of his most recognisable roles. That, of course, being cast as Rodney Jones in the children's movie Diary of a Wimpy Kid. From here on out, Ryan started to play several minor roles in more
Never watched it. Wouldn't know.
successful and higher budget films and TV shows. He would even play alongside the likes of Johnny Depp and Jude Law. But Ryan was rarely a lead actor. Instead, he made small appearances as temporary characters. Some notable series being iZombie, Falling Skies, and the hit Warner Brothers series Supernatural. One of his only other big roles would come in 2016, when he landed the lead role of Tommy in the feature film Considering Love and Other Magic. In this role, he played his character as a timid teen boy who insisted that he hadn't left his house in over 60 years. Ryan always seemed to find himself in the role of a timid, awkward teenager, and given his modest height of 5'2" and youthful boyish appearance,
Yeah, I better say I can see where they'd want him. That he seems like a skittish kid,
he was usually portrayed to be well below his actual age. If you were to Google his name, you will likely find him as an actor in the popular mystery drama series Riverdale. However, as seen with many of his previous roles, he only played in one single episode in the middle of season 4. Now, I'm not going to pretend I'm any sort of good actor myself, but it does make you wonder, if he was unable to land any sort of concrete role, then was his acting ever really that good to begin with? Saying that, Ryan racked up a total of 37 credits on IMDb.
Damn, bro. They coming in like fuck you, Adrian. Oh damn.
All between the ages of 8 and 21, so he did have quite a successful career. He would even receive several nominations in British Columbia's Leo Awards, and won Best Male Actor at the Vancouver Shorts Film Festival, thanks to his role in the movie Liz in 2011. Throughout this career, Ryan always had the infinite support of his sister, Lisa, and of course his mother, Barbara, both of which who were immensely proud of their brother and son. But sadly, in a cruel twist of fate, it was towards the latter end of her son's career that Barbara was diagnosed with cancer.
That's
She
awful.
began her battle against the disease, and although she also had the support of her family, she watched her diagnosis take a very heavy toll on her children. Whether it was the result of his mother's diagnosis, the pressure of his career, or an amalgamation of both, Ryan's career began to exhibit a few worrying behaviors. And unfortunately, this is where our story gets pretty dark pretty fast.
Oh, fuck.
Although his family were aware of some of these bad habits, Ryan was able to keep some of them to himself, likely due to shame. He unfortunately slipped into a very self-destructive state of depression, often abusing alcohol and even contemplating taking his own life. His family were aware of this, but what they didn't know was that he was also abusing weed in excessive quantities. And Ryan feared that his mother would be very disappointed if she found this out. His mental state became so self-destructive that he secretly dropped out of school at Simon Fraser University, which would be another thing that he would keep a secret from his family. And from here on out, Ryan spent a lot of his time alone in his room, where he became infatuated with the dark web. He began to watch hundreds of violent and graphic videos, all of which fueled his own negative thoughts and tendencies.
Damn.
And moving forward, homicidal fantasies became an alarming state.
Is that like everyone's go-to? I'm having a hard go of it. Life's just too much. I'm gonna go on the dark web. I have never been on a dark web. I don't think. If I have, I don't know. I don't know what I do on that the internet contraption. I'll get on there and I hit the buttons that I hit and I go. If it says you can't go no further, I go no further. It's just how it is. But what's the thrill of getting on there and watching snuff films, basically? I mean, you're gonna be watching just like really stupid, fucked up, deranged shit. What's the point? You know?
People in his already unstable mind. Ryan kept a journal to keep track of his thoughts. These diaries were not daily plans, therapeutic musings,
I'd like to read those diaries. I bet there's some interesting conversations in there with himself.
or healthy creative outlets. Instead, he recorded the twisted thoughts of an increasingly disturbed young adult. His
Told you.
notes ranged from thoughts of severe self-loathing all the way through to plans on how to create Molotov cocktails. And unfortunately, it didn't stop there either. To add to this, he also created dozens of torture plans that he wished to inflict on other people. It was in March of 2020 that Ryan began to create a catalogue of all of these evil plans. And unfortunately, he wanted to reenact a few of these before taking his own life. His mother and sister, who were entirely unaware of this, continued to support Ryan to the very best that they could. Even in the face of a family diagnosis, they all persevered. And sadly, as I say this all too often, life for the Grantham family was about to change in an instant.
Damn.
April the 1st, 2020. It was a typical spring day in Squad.
But you hear that a lot in actors and stuff like that. Like this ain't the first time like child actors lose their shit as they grow up and stuff. I mean, it's happened more than once. I mean, don't get me wrong. Ow, sorry, people. I'm still getting used to it. All in all, childhood actors have gone through a lot of shit. Like I guess their whole career. Some of them act out more than others. I'm sure some of them have probably killed people. I'm sure some of them have killed people and had other people cover it up and or whatever the case may be. But they say they go through like a lot of shit. And him being one that just kind of like gets flip-flopped around, already having emotional problems, having to like take on the persona of each new role that he's given, and they said they always have him play like someone weak, timid, like that scared chihuahua type kid. That very well could have took a toll on him, like on his psyche or whatever. He's like, no, I don't want people thinking I'm just some pushover. I mean, we don't know what goes through people's heads. Like, we think we know. We don't fucking know.
Amish, and safe to say, April showers were well and truly underway. The town was quiet, it was a Wednesday, and being the peak pandemic season, almost nobody was out. However, for Lisa Grantham, that quietness was abnormally different. It had been 2 days since she had last heard from her mother and brother, and when it came to Barbara, this was very much out of character. The pair were particularly
Sorry if I'm yelling, it's not the story. It's been a really long day. I have, it's been one of those days, you ever wake up, get a good night's sleep, but just wake up and like 2 hours after you're awake, just like, oh my God. It has been one of those, but it's been nonstop here lately, so.
close with one another and kept in regular daily contact. But what was even more peculiar is that all of the previous texts to her mother had remained unread. And as for every phone call, they all went straight through to voicemail. Lisa felt uneasy with this knowledge. Due to her diagnosis and the required treatment, her mother was particularly vulnerable. She therefore decided, despite the restrictions, to drive over to Barbara's townhouse to check in on her, letting herself in with her own key.
Yeah, especially depending on what kind of therapy she's taking for it or what kind of medicines and stuff she's taking for it. Yeah, she could be like laying in the middle of the floor, convulsing, having a seizure or anything. Yeah, I mean, I can't blame her. I would have jumped in the car like first time she didn't answer. I'd been like, I'm gonna call the second, third, and fourth time on the way. Worst case scenario, I'm gonna have to fucking turn around.
The home was eerily silent. A pin could drop and you would definitely hear it, they would say. Nobody appeared to be home. Walking into the living room, she peered up at the grand piano. What was strange though was that it was now covered in a plastic tarp. And that wasn't the most puzzling part of the scene either. Candles had been placed throughout the entire room, mostly next to and on top of the plastic tarp. These candles had been placed carelessly around the place, and wax had pulled all over the floor. And hanging from the piano itself was a string of beads sporting a cross. Overall, the scene was very puzzling for Lisa. However, after taking
like a rosary of sorts, or just like, you know, was it a rosary? Like a rosary? String, you know, beads with the cross on it?
a closer look, her second observation would haunt her forever. Underneath this plastic tarp appeared to be the motionless body of a human, and whoever it was, they were collapsed over the piano. Lisa knew that whatever was underneath could only be something truly horrific. She called the police immediately, and after they arrived, they found the motionless body of Barbara. Barbara was pronounced dead at the scene, and as for Lisa, she crumbled in an instant. Her mind immediately thought of Ryan, and how next she'd have to tell him of the very terrible news. However, very little did she know that she would never actually have to do this, because a few miles down the road, Ryan was already in police custody following a confession. He had just admitted to killing his mother. Now, if you thought this story was already chilling, well, we're only getting started and heading into the realms of insanity. Buckle up, folks. Things are about to get a lot stranger.
Oh, fuck. What? Oh God. Yeah, this is gonna get fuckered. Oh God. Adrian, bud, like, this isn't usually how it goes with us, bud. Like, I mean, yours usually just like, oh no, and then I feel bad. Like, I'm coming out this one scarred. I have a feeling I'm coming out this one just scarred.
As already mentioned, Ryan was exhibiting bizarre behaviour in the weeks leading up to March the 31st, and this was all most notable in his diaries. And although his notes were confidential at the time, they were now in the hands of the police. Believe it or not, but Ryan had concocted a plan to assassinate Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Now, the reasoning behind this was unclear, but his books outlined a very clear and detailed plan by which means to do it. Maps were drawn, Molotov cocktail recipes were created, and a structured timeline was made. Ryan was dead set on the idea, and he had even outlined further plans to attack his university afterwards. It soon became evident to the authorities that Ryan was an extremely disturbed, depressed, and distressed young man. But in order to go through with his plans, he told the authorities that he had to take his mother out first. The thought of causing violence was so absolute in Ryan's mind that his only point of contention was for his family. He did not want to disappoint them or cause them any pain. and it was for this reason that he murdered his own mother. While she was busy playing the piano, he raised his pistol, took aim, closed his eyes, and then pulled the trigger. As a result, Barbara was killed immediately. Disturbing side note, but the details behind this case are eerily similar to that of Trace Esler. He too wanted to attack his school, and he too killed his family to save the disappointment. And then, he too backed out of his plans only after it was too late. In the moments after this horrific act, Ryan grabbed his GoPro camera and recorded a confession to killing his mother. He would also film her motionless body before saying, "I shot her in the back of the head. In the moments after, she would have known it was me." After his recording, Ryan left the townhouse, loaded himself up on beer and marijuana, and then created Molotov cocktails for the next stage of his plans. He then sat and watched Netflix before heading to bed that night, all while his mother's lifeless corpse lay downstairs. The next morning, he covered his mother and the piano in a plastic tarp, before lighting candles and hanging a rosary in a ceremonial fashion. It was on that day of April the
It was a rosary. I was wondering.
1st, 2020, that he planned to carry out the next stage of his plot. And that was to assassinate the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. But before going ahead with these plans, he couldn't continue before writing one last entry in his diary. "I'm so sorry, Mum. I'm so sorry, Lisa. I hate myself. There's a lot of media of me out there. Film and TV. Hundreds of hours of me that can be viewed and dissected. No one will understand." After this, he packed his car with 3 guns, ammunition, and 12 Molotov cocktails. He also packed camping supplies, expecting to be on the run for quite some time. Taking a hand-marked map from one of his diaries, he planned to drive over 50 hours to the Canadian Prime Minister's cottage, where he then planned to open fire and set the house ablaze. However, after driving 150 miles east to the town of Hope, his resolve faltered after believing his plan was too complicated to follow. But with everything in the truck, and having killed his mother in order to carry out his plans, it was too late to turn back. Ryan decided to fall back on his plan of the Prime Minister, and instead focus on attacking Simon Fraser University. And after turning around, he headed right towards the city of Vancouver. But this too seemed to be too overwhelming for him. Before going through with his intentions, he stopped at a local parking lot, where he then contemplated taking his own life. Nothing had gone to plan, and to add to this, he had already murdered his mother. However, this plot would also fail. As he sat there psyching himself up, he concluded that the best way to repay his mother's death was to remain alive instead. During his confession to the police, he said, "I took a beautiful life from the world, so I felt that I owed the world a life instead." It's at that moment that he drove to the nearest police station, walked up to the front counter, and then told the police officer who was sitting at reception everything he had done. As a result, Ryan was arrested.
Bro, don't kill your own mom unless you are fucking faux sure gonna go on your murder spree. What the fuck?
Immediately, and all in the meanwhile, Lisa had just walked into the townhouse and found her mother's body. As mentioned before, Ryan justified murdering his mother by apparently sparing her all the emotional turmoil that he would have created through his own evil schemes. Ryan did not want to be seen as a monster by his family, so I guess he at least recognized that he was one. But you see, even in this action, we can see that he valued his integrity more than his own mother's life. In regards to the legal proceedings of this case, it would take more than 2 years for Ryan to finally face trial. And yeah, you can thank COVID for that one. The trial began on June 13th, 2020, where the court learned of Ryan's plans alongside numerous homemade videos the actor had created himself. And regretfully, these recordings included videos of him rehearsing the murder of his own mother. Obviously, Ryan is an extremely disturbed individual. After a rather lengthy psychological evaluation, it was determined that he'd developed a strong case of psychosis due to his heavy substance abuse, which mainly comprised of marijuana and alcohol. Now, obviously, substances like this can be responsibly enjoyed. However, Ryan
Yeah.
was using them to a very detrimental level. In the end, he was diagnosed with a severe mood disorder and a severe substance abuse disorder, both of which contributed to his disturbed state of mind before killing his own mother. As you can likely imagine, his defense team would very heavily lean on this. They also argued that Ryan was clinically depressed and had been struggling with an anxiety disorder for many years prior, and to add to this, he had even expressed a desire to take his own life. However, experts claimed that his conditions were not a means to absolve Ryan for the
Wow.
responsibility for his actions, and
No.
furthermore that he should face the full force of the law. In a statement
Yes.
to the court, Ryan said, "I cannot explain or justify my actions. I have no excuse. It hurts me to think about how badly I've wasted my life. In the face of something so horrible, saying sorry seems so pointless. But from every fiber of my being, I am sorry." Victim impact statements were
Damn.
given during the
Almost respected that final send off. Like, I hate hearing people just, yeah, I just want you to know I'm sorry for killing your friend, your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your daughter, whoever it is. I'm sorry for killing them. I'm so sorry. Bitch, I don't care if you're sorry. I want you to die. Just one time, like, something, I can sit up here, tell you I'm sorry for killing them, but I would respect that more. At least you're being truthful.
trial, with other members of Ryan's family taking to the
You just sorry you got caught and you're going to prison the rest of your life.
stand against him. Understandably, they were all very hurt and confused. Most notably, Ryan's sister said, "How can I trust anybody when my only sibling chose to execute my mum while her back was turned?" She further iterated that her mother was defenseless, that she was weak and frail from her battle with cancer, and that Ryan took advantage of her while she was faced away and her guard was down. Lisa and her extended family are gravely saddened by the loss of Barbara, and even more so, they are shocked that one of their own family members could commit such an atrocity. Court Justice Kathleen Kerr called the crime tragic and heartbreaking. She further expressed that it was miraculous that Ryan chose to turn himself in, rather than go through with his horrific plans. Ryan was initially charged with first-degree murder. However, due to his diminished mental state at the time of his crimes, this was later reduced to murder in the second degree. Now, this may sound like good news for Ryan. However, under Canadian law, second degree is still automatically served with a life sentence. The only thing his lawyers could actually dispute was the amount of time he would have to serve before he was eligible for parole. Ryan would officially plead guilty. His lawyers argued that, due to his expression of guilt and sorrow, his minimum term should be reduced to 12 years. In contrast to this, the prosecution was aiming for a minimum of 18 years. In the end, his actual sentence was eventually met roughly in the middle, and he was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 14 years behind bars. This meaning that he will not be eligible for parole until the year 2036. According to reports, Ryan is being held at a secure facility specializing in mental health treatment, where he
good.
often receives support to help him get over the grief of murdering his own mother. He receives therapy and counseling
No.
in a private facility, and it's
No, that little son of a bitch needs to live with the guilt of killing his fucking mom, you piece of shit. Fuck that. I mean, I'm glad he's getting help, but you need to keep that guilt close to your heart, bro.
here that he will serve the remainder of his sentence alone. Side note, but Ryan's lawyer claims this is for his own good. Due to his small 5'2" height and slim build, he would have likely become a victim to the taller and older men. As a result, he has been spared a lot of physical, psychological, and even sexual abuse. Lisa Grantham is understandably extremely devastated, as her family has fallen apart in the very blink of an eye. She has lost her beloved mother, and even more gut-wrenchingly, it was at the hands of her own brother. Barbara Waite was a devoted mother who deserved much more than the awful fate she was handed. To be murdered by her son, whom she so dearly loved and dutifully supported, is truly heartbreaking. Affectionately called Barbie by her friends and family, she is remembered for her happy and sweet nature. She was an adventurous spirit who enjoyed the outdoors and being active. And despite the fact that she was small in physical stature, she was strong and brave in almost every sense imaginable. She fought through challenges with a relentlessly positive outlook. May she now rest in peace.
Like the cancer wasn't killing her.
And so folks, I think that just about wraps up our case today. Thank you so much for being here.
Like the cancer wasn't killing her like fast enough. Like I'm not saying like it was killing her fast, as in like she was, steadily dying. Like some cancers can kill you very slowly. That I'm not saying like, but faster than what she probably should have without the fucking cancer. Like, you know, ain't like she ain't dying fast enough already. Like, you really need to help this shit along, bud. I would he would have never seen the inside of a courtroom. If I would have been his sister, I would have strangled him in front of the police. I wouldn't have cared. They'd be like, "You won't have to shoot me. Can you kill me to keep me from killing him?" Remember, he killed her. All right. Oh, I really enjoyed this video though. Like, literally, just the name of it got me. I'm glad just the name of it got me. Like, this was a great fucking video. I never heard of the kid. I didn't. I don't know. All right. If y'all enjoyed today's video as much as I did, please leave a thumbs up. If you're a fan of the spooky, scary, strange, deranged, think about subscribing. As always, be good to one another, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye. Man, that's some crazy ass bullshit. Like, I'm sorry. I I'm glad he's getting help, but I think he needs to live with the guilt of killing his own mother than being a piece of shit for the rest of his life. I don't think he should ever get over that. My opinion.